Death, it's something we all have to face sooner or later. For most, it comes later. For others, it comes sooner. You could either die a horrible death, or a peaceful one. Ryou was one of the lucky ones. Death came for him late 112 years late after his birth. He had many friends, and a family. Unfortunately, good things must come to an end. Ryou's life was one of those good things. From a young boy, to an elderly man, and here he lies. Ryou Bakura, my host. Bakura, I heard my host's weak voice call from the hospital bed. What? I called from the door. Come closer. I sighed and walked over to Ryou. What do you want? I asked. He coughed a few times. I want to thank you. I stared at him, unsure of what he was talking about. I know you don't know why I'm saying this. Sometimes I forgot our minds are linked. Ryou coughed again. Before you arrived, I was a lonely kid. I didn't have many friends. In fact, you were my only friend. Even though you abused me, at least someone paid attention to me. But there were also good times. Ryou coughed. Like that one year for my birthday, you got me a pet cat. Do you remember Bakura? I did remember. I had actually gotten the cat for myself. But hearing Ryou complaining about how much he wanted a cat made me change my mind. And that one summer we went to the water park, and you pushed me off the highest diving board and there, you helped me get over my fear of heights that summer. Do you remember? I sighed and nodded as I sat on the edge of the bed. Ryou looked at me with a smile. I could tell he wouldn't be with the living much longer, and I didn't need some beeping machine to tell me that. But Ryou let out another cough. There were bad times. A tear fell down his face as he began to speak, like the beatings, and how I was sent to the hospital. He coughed again as I turned away to look at the wall. Was I ashamed of what I did? Maybe a little. He really didn't deserve all those beatings. He was only a child after all. Children screw up. But that didn't seem to matter to me at the time. Bakura, it's okay. I forgive you, he whispered. I looked back at him. He looked paler than usual. For Ryou, that says something. I want you to move on. Find someone else. But his body shook as he struggled to take in a breath. Remember, I'll always be with you, like you were with me, he said, his voice getting weaker with every word he spoke. Thank you. He spoke weakly before I felt his end of the mind link fade away to nothing. I looked over to the machine and sighed. It had flatlined. Ryou was dead. You're welcome, I said softly into his ear while fixing the sheets over him. Once done, I stood up and looked down at his body. A tear fell from my eye and I quickly wiped it away before walking out of the room to tell the nurse of Ryou's passing. Ryou had lived out his friends and family, so I was the only one that attended the burial. There was no funeral, no wake, just the burial. I watched as they carefully set the blue casket into the ground. Ryou liked blue. He'd be happy to know I picked it for him. Once the casket was placed in the hole, they started filling it up with dirt again. I stayed to watch that too. I wasn't quite sure how to feel. I guess sad would be the right word. Maybe disappointed? They finished filling up the hole and placed the headstone over the grave. There wasn't really much on it, but that was okay. Ryou wasn't really a person of many words to begin with. I actually liked that about him. He was always quiet, allowing me to think. Maybe I'm gonna miss him more than I thought. They finally finished with the gravesite and left. I can finally say goodbye. I got up and walked over to the grave. Well, goodbye Ryou. You're probably in a better place. You were always a good person to everyone, even me. Thanks, I guess, I said as I set the flowers onto the grave. Ryou was a weird one, enjoying flowers and the like. He liked the blue and white ones the most. I couldn't be bothered to remember the name. I guess I should say something heartwarming or something, huh? Probably. I stood there, thinking. Truth was, I didn't have anything to say. I was gonna miss him, yes, but there was nothing I could do about it. He was already gone. He was immortal. They'd die. No amount of crying was going to change that. I guess I'll miss you. Kind of disappointed you're gone now, but you lived quite a long time. Most humans don't live as long as you did. So, congrats, I said, smiling a bit. I was actually feeling proud of that fact. Most humans die around 80 or 90. They don't make it nearly as close as Ryou did. I stood and looked at the headstone. Ryou Bakura, age 112, 1996, 3008. Here lies Ryou Bakura, the best host a spirit could ask for. That was the best I could do when they asked what I wanted on the damn thing. A rumble of thunder could be heard in the distance, and I looked up to see rain clouds coming in. I hate the rain. Well, Ryou, looks like rain's coming in. Guess I should start heading back home, I said, looking around at all the other graves. Only 7 remained untouched by vandals. It started with his sister, Amain, then his mother and father, followed by his wife and children, and now he was the last to join them. I lifted the ring and started speaking in ancient Egyptian. This was a spell I had learned a long time ago. I was supposed to produce a protective shield around anything and anyone I cast it over, and that's exactly what it did. Dark purple energy surrounded Ryou's grave before disappearing, leaving an invisible barrier around it. There. Now you can finally rest in peace, I said softly as I looked at Ryou's grave. A few drops of water fell and I looked up to the skies again. It was time to go home. Well, goodbye Ryou. I smirked as I started on my way back home. Ryou always hated that nickname, but I figured I'd tease him about it one last time. I mean, when am I ever going to do that again? Dart. Sekhmet jumped on my lap as I sat on the couch. He's gone, I said as I stroked the cat's back softly. Ryou didn't know it, but I had placed a forever living spell on her. I couldn't stand to watch Ryou lose something he had grown so close to. He would have cried and complained to me about it for days or even weeks. I wasn't prepared for that. Sekhmet nuzzled up against me as she started purring softly. It's just you and me now, I said, continuing to pet the cat gently. Just me and Sekhmet. No Ryou anymore. At least I still had pictures. Sekhmet purred and licked my face. I didn't know much about cats, but I guess it was her way of saying everything was going to be okay. I hope she was right. I had no idea what was going to happen next, but I guess that's what makes life an adventure, not knowing what will happen next. Ryou always said it doesn't really matter what happens next, as long as you enjoy it. So I guess I'll live by that. Sekhmet and I both, and hopefully, Ryou will be up there, somewhere, watching over Sekhmet and I.